Let me tell you a story. One that feels almost like watching two countries at very different points in a long race, both struggling, both hopeful, but with such contrasting energy. Imagine France first. You probably already know it as a powerhouse: art, culture, history, innovation. But beneath that sheen, there's a weight that's growing heavier by the day. The numbers don't lie. France's public debt has climbed to levels that make even economists wince. Over $3.3 trillion, which works out to more than 113% of its GDP. That means France is borrowing more than it makes in a year. The interest payments alone, tens of billions. Every quarter, that figure inches upward. In just a few months, debt has grown from $3.3 trillion to about $3.4 trillion, accounting for roughly 114% of national output. What does that feel like? It's like a family with rising medical bills, senior citizens, no savings, and mounting credit card interest, except magnified over a nation. The challenge isn't just the scale, though. It's also the fragility. The French government has been trying to control the damage, cutting deficits, restructuring budgets, promising reforms. But political instability hangs like a storm cloud. One rating agency recently downgraded France's sovereign debt, citing the risk that the country may not be able to deliver on bold promises. When markets start questioning whether you can trust a country to repay, interest rates rise, borrowing becomes more expensive, and the cycle tightens. France's situation is being watched closely across Europe, especially because it is one of the Union's biggest economies. Now shift your gaze to Burkina Faso, a much smaller country, but one that's stirring hopes and raising eyebrows. In recent years, this landlocked nation in West Africa has shown signs of ambition. One bold move, waiving visa fees for all African nationals in its effort to boost trade, mobility, and regional integration. That is not just a gesture, it is a signal. We want to open doors, not barricade them. Burkina Faso is part of broader efforts tied to AfCFTA, the African Continental Free Trade Area, a plan to unite African markets, reduce trade barriers, and build stronger economic links across the continent. The idea is that, over time, trade between African states can grow, creating more self-reliance and shared prosperity. In action, this means Burkina Faso is pushing policies to strengthen exports, improve institutional capacity, and align itself with continental strategies. It is not perfect, no country's transition is, but there is an energy about it. When larger powers struggle under their own weight, smaller voices start to be heard. So here's the tension. France, once a colossus, now finds itself under increasing pressure. Debt like an anchor, politics like turbulence, and markets like waiting blades. Burkina Faso, in contrast, might seem humble, but it's daring to move forward in a system built by bigger players. There's a human side to this, because numbers, after all, represent people. In France, worry is growing about taxes, public services, pensions. People whisper, will the government be able to deliver? Will our future be stable? Markets, investors, citizens, everyone feels a bit of that unease. Meanwhile, in Burkina Faso, there's cautious optimism. Citizens wonder, will we really benefit from being more connected? Will trade bring jobs, growth, dignity? The risk is real. Reforms may stumble, external shocks may bite. But there's a spirit that change is possible. In the race to lead now, in global attention, in influence, in direction, it may not always be the biggest that dominates. A country with less baggage, more flexibility, and bold policies might climb while giants wobble. And somewhere between the shadows of debt and the flicker of hope, the story of who leads next is being written. France's $4 trillion debt crisis isn't just a number on paper. It is a reality that is starting to weigh on the country, as shoulders like an invisible burden. Imagine being part of a nation known for its beauty, its art, its elegance, and realizing that behind all that charm lies a growing financial storm. The kind that doesn't just shake economies, but quietly creeps into people's daily lives. The debt has reached over 113% of France's GDP, meaning the country owes far more than it produces each year. That S like running a household where every paycheck is already promised to bills, and the next one too. Interest payments alone are costing the government tens of billions of euros annually, money that could have gone to healthcare, education, or public welfare. Instead, it's disappearing into the black hole of national debt. The mood in France has changed. There's uncertainty in the air. People are asking tough questions. Will taxes rise again? Will public services be cut? Politicians make promises, but balancing the budget feels harder with every passing year. Each government tries to fix the hole, but the hole seems to deepen faster than they can fill it. And then there's the pressure from outside, the markets, the credit rating agencies, the European Union. When trust begins to falter, borrowing becomes even more expensive, and the spiral tightens. It's a cycle that feels endless, like trying to climb out of quicksand. Yet the story isn't just about economics. It's about the people living it. The families wondering what kind of future they'll have. The young generation questioning whether the system still works. France, for all its history and pride, finds itself at a crossroads, burdened, reflective, but still searching for a way forward. Burkina Faso's push under the AfCFTA feels like a breath of fresh air in a world that often seems dominated by giants. It's a story of courage, of a nation deciding that it doesn't want to wait for opportunities. It wants to create them. The African Continental Free Trade Area, or AfCFTA, isn't just an agreement on paper. For countries like Burkina Faso, it's a promise, a chance to open borders, strengthen partnerships, and finally take control of their own economic destiny. You can feel the optimism building on the ground. Markets are buzzing, small businesses are dreaming bigger, and policymakers are talking about unity, not dependency. By removing visa barriers for other African nationals, Burkina Faso sent a clear message. Africa belongs to Africans first. That gesture might seem small, but symbolically, it's huge. It's about trust, about connection, about believing that progress doesn't have to come from outside. Of course, there's still a long road ahead. Infrastructure needs work, trade routes need upgrading, and regional security remains fragile. But the energy feels different now. There's this quiet determination, a collective belief that Africa can rise through cooperation, not competition. The idea that neighbors can be partners, not rivals. Burkina Faso's move within the AfCFTA isn't just about economics, it's about pride. It is about rewriting the story of a continent that's too often defined by its challenges instead of its potential. For many, it feels like the start of something new, a shift from surviving to thriving. And though the world might not have noticed yet, there's a growing sense that something powerful is awakening in the heart of Africa. The world is changing in quiet but powerful ways. You can almost feel the shift, the balance of influence moving slowly but surely toward nations that were once overlooked. For so long, global power seemed locked in the hands of a few, the same economies setting the tone, writing the rules, and defining success. But that picture is starting to blur. Emerging nations are finding their voice, their rhythm, and their confidence. Take a closer look, and you'll see the signs everywhere. Countries once labeled as developing are now the ones leading new trade alliances, pushing for fairer systems, and building connections that bypass old hierarchies. The rise of regional cooperation, especially across Africa, is no longer a dream. It's happening. And it's reshaping how people see leadership. It's not just about military power or massive GDP numbers anymore. It's about resilience, unity, and the courage to imagine something different. There's something deeply human about this shift. Smaller nations, long told to wait their turn, are realizing they don't have to. They can build from within, trust their people, and stand together. It's a kind of empowerment that feels emotional as much as economic. When a country like Burkina Faso takes bold steps while larger powers like France struggle under debt, the world notices, even if quietly at first. It's not about rivalry, but renewal. A reminder that leadership isn't inherited, it's earned through adaptability and vision. As these new voices rise, they bring with them fresh perspectives, grounded in cooperation, fairness, and shared growth. The global stage is no longer one-sided. And that, perhaps, is the most hopeful change of all. If you believe Africa deserves to rise on its own terms, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe, because together we amplify voices that the world needs to hear.